Big 12, Pac-12, where will we be in 5, 6, 7 years? Will we? I mean, 2 years ago, the Big 12 seemed left for dead. Now it looks like the Pac-12 is in trouble with not being able to get a TV deal. I got to be honest with you. I think the more and more we look at this, I think it's going to be the SEC, Big Ten, and another conference. So, and I think there's going to be, I believe personally, and people would call me biased because I'm from the South. I believe it's going to be the SEC is 1A and the Big Ten is going to be 1B. And then I think whatever this Big 12 thing ends up happening is going to be like 3. And then I think the Pac-12 is going to be like 18. I think that the fall off is going to be significant. And I don't know that there's necessarily going to be a Pac-12.
No, the question is, look, we talked Monday about how I believe Florida State, Clemson, and Virginia Tech and Miami, I think they're working behind the scenes to make sure that the ACC gets torpedoed, that they don't just leave the ACC, that the conference collapses. The Pac-12, you're right, 2 years ago, Big 12 was left for dead. But the Pac-12's TV contract was up the same second that the Big Ten poached USC and UCLA, which has left the Pac-12 in they can't find a TV deal that they want. I don't know if you noticed, like ESPN has decided we don't really care to carry Pac-12 Tier 1 games at this point. And so all of a sudden, the Big 12, which was we always felt the Big 12 was on the least stable ground of the 5 conferences, maybe the third most stable now. And I think what they're doing, and guys, you guys should check this out with Josh Pate on YouTube. I watch him a lot. I know I cite him, but he has a great take on this, which is that the Big 12 hired, I think, a Rock Nation guy from the Asian company to kind of run the show, be their commissioner. They're not going to doctrinally live by the pageantry of college football that we all loved that made it great for 50 years. Honestly, that's fine. The Big 12 has to do something different if they're going to be afloat. The Pac-12 and the ACC are going to still try to live by that. And the Big 12 is thinking, all right, we're going to do something different. They're playing a game in Mexico, I think, next year or in a couple of years. They're trying to put games in Mexico. They're doing all these different things to try to make it a national, like, hip brand. Now, the SEC and the Big Ten don't have to do that because the SEC and the Big Ten are just loaded with dominant schools that are just going to bring in revenue. They're going to print money. But the Big 12 has to be creative and think of different things to do. They're finessing.
I mean, I can appreciate being creative, but that's just stupid.
Oh, I get it because, and that's exactly what Josh Pate said, funny enough, because his point, and I think you agree, half the selling point of college football is you don't pay for the game. You pay for the whole experience of the game day environment at a college campus.
Well, and the other part that's important about football is that, hey, you play on a field that you know is going to be a good field. The NFL had to pull a game from there because the field wasn't up to par. There are a lot of Hispanic fans of the Dallas Cowboys, so you'll see them go down there, and the Raiders as well, and they get a really good showing. But I mean, who in creation is going to show up for an Iowa State tilt?
Well, yeah, no, I agree. They would have to put some Texas teams in there.
I mean, literally, if you show up in there and if you make this commitment that you're going to go and you show up in there like 25,000 fans, you look like a bunch of idiots.
Yes, but I think the Big 12 has kind of this idea of let's make some of these teams that are in Texas that play in big cities almost more like pro teams at the college level, kind of how the Hurricanes marketed themselves in Miami over the years. I think that's kind of their plan. And that's a better plan than what the Pac-12 has. Look, they're just trying things. The Pac-12 is trying nothing. And the Pac-12 is left for dead. And I think the Big 12, something I was listening to yesterday, it was on 365 Sports. They were saying that the Big 12, that the holdup with the Pac-12, the reason there hasn't been any more movement with the Big 10, Pac-12, is everybody's waiting to see what TV deal the Pac-12 signs. The minute they finally get that TV deal, that's when you're going to see Oregon and Washington and all these other schools leave. Guys, Oregon and Washington is leaving the Pac-12. They're joining the Big Ten. I don't know when, but they're joining the Big Ten. It's over. It's over.
If there's and speaking of, because somebody posted on our message board, could the Big Ten reach down into Florida? which I guess would be Florida State, Miami. That would sound crazy 3 years ago, but nobody thought that they were going to go get USC and UCLA. So I guess it's possible. Is there any team that you absolutely, if you're the SEC, if you're Greg Sankey, you're like, I do not want them to get that team?
Florida State, Clemson, Virginia Tech, North Carolina.
I go no. I think that it's two. It's number one is Notre Dame. I don't think you want Notre Dame going there. I think you're fine with them being on their own. I think that would create a lot of natural rivalries within the conference. You and I both aren't high on Notre Dame as a championship program, but it still is what it is, and it's very traditionally programmed. And I think North Carolina would be second. Those are the ones that would concern me. If I caught wind and I'm Greg Sankey that the Big Ten is making a run at Notre Dame, I'm calling Notre Dame. And it may not make sense regionally, but it is still Notre Dame.
Yeah, but I think it's over. I don't know when, but Notre Dame's going to the Big Ten. They're going to end up in the Big Ten. I don't know when, but they're going to end up in the Big Ten. And I don't think the SEC still has a better brand. I'm sorry?
We probably said that 15, 20 years ago, though, right?
No, 15, 20 years ago, again, something happened 2 years ago, last year, that changed for everything. The Big Ten got an NBC deal. Notre Dame is not alone on NBC anymore. So that's where things have changed dramatically. And once the ACC gets iced out, I mean, the revenue from the revenue sharing of these conferences will be more than what Notre Dame can bring in. And Notre Dame, and quite honestly, I'm going to tell you this. I'll tell you how the Big Ten can leverage Notre Dame in. Big Ten can go to NBC and say, we won all the primetime games on NBC. You better put Notre Dame at like 11 a.m. or noon or something like that. That could be their strong arm. Basically say to Notre Dame, we're going to screw over your time slot on NBC unless you come join us. And that's a big deal.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say that. But even if Notre Dame joins, the SEC still has larger brands overall. The SEC's only flaw is Greg Sankey hasn't negotiated as good a deals as the Big Ten. And he's got to get better about that.